When history speaks of great warriors, the same names are repeated. Napoleon, Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar. But beyond the pages of Western chronicles lies another story, one carved in blood, honor, and unshakable courage. Africa, the mother of civilization, the cradle of humanity, has given rise to warriors whose names should thunder through the ages. Kings who defied empires. Queens who stood unbroken before invaders. Generals who fought with brilliance, strategy, and fire that reshaped the destiny of nations. These were not shadows in history. They were titans. Protectors of kingdoms. Masters of war. Legends whose spirits still echo in the winds of the Sahara, the forests of the Congo, and the mountains of Ethiopia. And yet, most of the world has never heard their names. Today, we break the silence. We honor their stories. From fearless queens who led armies, to warrior kings who stood against empires, to leaders whose brilliance matched any conqueror the world celebrates. This is not just a list. It is a journey through forgotten battlefields, across sacred lands, into the very heart of African courage. Number 10, Muhammad Ahmed, the Mahdi of Sudan. The desert sun blazes over endless sands. Muhammad Ahmed, remembered as the Mahdi of Sudan. In the late 1800s, the land of Sudan stood at a crossroads. Egypt and Britain sought to dominate, imposing foreign rule over people who had never bowed to outsiders. But one man rose from the banks of the Nile with a vision that would ignite the desert. Muhammad Ahmed declared himself the Mahdi, the prophesied redeemer of Islam. To some, he was a mystic. To others, a revolutionary. To all, he was a flame no empire could ignore. What began as a spiritual calling soon exploded into a full-scale revolution. Ahmed united rival tribes, forging them into a single force, a modest army bound not just by weapons, but by unshakable faith. They believed they were chosen. They believed they could defy empires. His greatest triumph came at the siege of Khartoum. For 10 relentless months, his fighters surrounded the British stronghold, cutting it off from the outside world. Inside, the legendary General Charles Gordon held out. But when the city finally fell in 1885, Gordon was struck down, and the shockwaves of his death rippled all the way to London. Though Muhammad Ahmed died shortly after his victory, his rebellion refused to die with him. Instead, it lit the fire of one of the longest anti-colonial struggles of the century. Sudan had spoken, and for the first time, the British listened nervously. Number 9, Rewrote of Sierra Leone. A warrior whose defiance carved a path of fire through the forests and rivers of West Africa. In the late 19th century, when the British imposed a hot tax in Sierra Leone, it was more than a levy, it was a declaration of dominion, a subtle hammer aimed at breaking the spirit of a people who had never bowed to foreign rulers. But Rewrote, both chief and spiritual leader, would not kneel. He saw in the tax the shadow of imperial ambition and resolved to resist. He launched what history would remember as the Hot Tax War, striking not with the heavy formations of conventional armies, but with the fluidity and cunning of a master strategist. His warriors knew every bend of the rivers, every hidden path in the dense forest, every ridge and hollow where the land itself could be weaponized. Low on firearms but rich in knowledge and spirit, they struck swiftly and disappeared like phantoms, leaving the British scrambling, bewildered, and repeatedly humiliated. Rewrote's tactics were more than military maneuvers, they were early lessons in guerrilla warfare, executed decades before the world would codify such strategies. Ambush after ambush, his forces forced the mightiest European army in the region into retreat, each victory sending a pulse of fear and respect through the ranks of colonial officers. Even when captured, Rewrote remained unbowed. He refused to apologize, refused to plead for mercy, and refused to recognize the authority of the empire that sought to crush him. His fight was not about silver or taxes, it was about sovereignty, identity, and the unbreakable will of a people. And it was precisely this unyielding spirit that made him one of the most dangerous figures in the eyes of the British. But its story is a testament to the power of knowledge, courage, and homeland. It is a story of a man who turned forests and rivers into fortresses, who transformed his people's knowledge of the land into a weapon, and whose legacy reminds us that true resistance does not always roar, it sometimes moves like a shadow, striking with precision and disappearing into legend. Number 8. Candake Amenorinas of Nubia. In the lands where the Nile runs golden and the sun scorches the sands of history, a queen rose whose courage would echo through time. Candake Amenorinas of Nubia. Rome had already swallowed Egypt, its legions marching with the arrogance of invincibility. Emperor Augustus, perched in the marble halls of power, imagined Nubia would be next, a jewel waiting to be plucked. But he had not reckoned with the fire of Meroe, nor the iron will of its queen. Amenorinas did not wait for war to come to her doorstep. She struck first, a storm unleashed upon Roman Egypt. Forts fell like grains of sand in the desert wind, and in a gesture both fierce and symbolic, she brought down the statue of Augustus himself, severing its head as if to declare, "Nubia bows to no empire." Battle scars marked her body, but none could dim her resolve. She lost an eye amid the clashing swords and roaring shields, yet she refused to step back. Her soldiers spoke in whispers and awe, calling her the blind queen, a warrior whose vision transcended sight. Rome sent reinforcements, their legions swelling like an ocean against the shore. Yet every wave broke against the rock of Nubian defiance. Amenorinas did not just fight, she inspired, and when the dust settled, she negotiated peace on her own terms, no taxes, no occupation, no surrender. In the annals of history, few rulers can claim victory over the eternal empire, but Candake Amenorinas did. She forced Rome to retreat, not with trembling hands, but with the strength of a queen whose spirit could not be chained. Number 7. Mansoman of Mali. In the heart of West Africa, where the Niger winds through golden savannas and the pulse of empires echoes in the market squares, a quieter kind of power held sway. Mansoman of Mali. While his brother, Mansour Musa, dazzled the world with gold and splendor, casting Mali's wealth like sunlight across distant lands, Mansoman labored in the shadows, holding the empire together when chaos threatened to swallow it whole. After Musa's death, enemies stirred, ambitious lords, restless governors, and opportunistic invaders alike, all plotting to fracture Mali, to turn its shining legacy into dust. Mansoman did not chase glory in grand campaigns or parade through distant lands with banners unfurled. Instead, he wove defense and order like a master craftsman. In the north, he repelled the relentless Tor raiders, their swords clashing like thunder against Mali's gates. At home, he thwarted whispered conspiracies and the subtle thrust of would-be usurpers. He became the shield after Musa's golden spear, the steadfast hand keeping the kingdom's heart beating. His most celebrated act was both cunning and resolute. He stripped disloyal nobles of power and redistributed their lands to those whose loyalty could not be questioned. In doing so, he avoided a civil war that might have shattered Mali's foundations. Under Mansoman, the empire did more than survive, it endured, its institutions preserved, its unity solidified. History may have dimmed his golden glow beside Musa's brilliance, but the truth remains, Mansoman was a warrior king, underestimated yet indispensable, the quiet guardian of Mali's legacy. Number 6. Hannibal Barca of Carthage. In the sun-scorched lands of what is now Tunisia, a boy once swore an oath that would echo across centuries: he would make Rome pay. That boy became Hannibal Barca of Carthage. From his earliest days, Hannibal was consumed by a vision of defiance. By the age of 29, he transformed that vision into one of the most audacious military campaigns the world had ever seen, the Second Punic War. With 90,000 men at his back and elephants striding like living fortresses through snow and stone, Hannibal dared the impossible. He led his army across the Alps, a feat so bold that Roman generals dismissed it as madness. Yet he proved them wrong. Every step, every battle, carved his legend deeper into the annals of history. At the Battle of Cannae, he struck Rome on its own soil. Using cunning and precision, Hannibal encircled 50,000 Roman soldiers, annihilating them in a display of strategy and sheer audacity. Never before had an African general humbled the eternal city so completely. Though he never marched on Rome itself, his genius shaped the art of war for generations to come. Napoleon would one day call him the father of military genius, a testament to the enduring power of his mind and will. Hannibal Barca reminds us that courage, strategy, and audacity can bend even the mightiest empires to their knees. And if you wish to journey deeper into the lives of Africa's most formidable warriors, scroll down. The description holds books, documentaries, and resources that illuminate the stories behind the legends. Number 5. Nana Yaa Asantewaa of Ghana. In the heart of the Ashanti Kingdom, where the golden sunlight dances upon sacred stools and the drums echo the heartbeat of a proud people, a queen mother rose whose courage would ignite a nation. Nana Yaa Asantewaa of Ghana. When the British exiled the Ashanti king and dared to demand the golden stool, the sacred soul of the Ashanti people, the kingdom trembled under the shadow of imperial ambition. But Yaa Asantewaa would not bow. She would not surrender the spirit of her people. With the roar of ancestors in her heart, she rallied thousands of warriors, many of them women, and led them into the storm of battle. The war of the Golden Stool was no mere skirmish, it was a testament to the unyielding will of a people defending their soul. British forts trembled under the assault of her forces, repelled not only by strategy and might but by the spiritual resolve that flowed through every Ashanti warrior. For months, she held back the tide of empire, her courage a living shield for her people. Even as reinforcements poured in, Yaa Asantewaa's determination never wavered. Her final stand was heroic, a blaze of defiance against overwhelming power. Though she was ultimately captured, her spirit could not be chained. She lit a flame that would burn through generations, inspiring the fight for Ghanaian independence long before the first colonial chains were broken. Today, Nana Yaa Asantewaa is remembered not only as a warrior queen but as a mother of her people, one whose bravery fought for those yet to be born, and whose legend continues to stir hearts with the power of unyielding courage. Number 4. Samurai II of the Wassalu Empire. In the heart of West Africa, where the red earth meets endless skies, a leader emerged whose courage would defy the might of a European empire. Samurai II of the Wassalu Empire. As the French advanced across the region, subjugating kingdoms and redrawing maps with gunpowder and treaties, Two looked upon his people and vowed, "Not us." He would not surrender his homeland to foreign dominion. He forged a professional army, disciplined and relentless, and for 16 years, he led a resistance that would confound one of the most powerful militaries of the age. But his greatest weapon was not sheer force, it was mobility, the fluid motion of an entire nation in concert. When the French tried to trap him, Two would relocate entire cities overnight. Soldiers marched alongside families, herds of livestock in tow, moving as one living organism, a people united in defiance. His war of resistance was relentless. Over 38 major battles raged across the land, each a testament to strategy, courage, and adaptability. At Worogu and Buet, he struck decisive blows that left the French shaken and humbled. He was nearly unbeatable, a phantom on the battlefield, always a step ahead, always untouchable. Even after his capture, Tue's spirit remained unbroken. He never betrayed his people, his loyalty and vision transcending the chains of captivity. In death, he became more than a warrior, he became a martyr, a symbol of independence and resistance whose legacy would inspire freedom movements across Africa for generations to come. Number 3. Tahora of Kush and Egypt. Along the life-giving waters of the Nile, where history flows like the river itself, a ruler rose whose power bridged two great lands. Tahora, Pharaoh of Kush and Egypt. At a time when black African kings rarely held sway over both Upper and Lower Egypt, Tahora wore the double crown with authority and vision. His reign was a rare and luminous moment in history, a fusion of cultures, a testament to African sovereignty and ingenuity. But power invites challenge. The Assyrians, one of the most formidable military forces of the ancient world, cast their shadow across his lands. Tahara would not yield. He led multiple campaigns along the sacred Nile, defending every temple, every village, every stretch of fertile land that fed his people. Though he would lose ground over time, he never surrendered his sovereignty. Every battle, every maneuver, was a declaration: Kush and Egypt would remain African, free, and proud. Tahara's legacy extended beyond the battlefield. He rebuilt temples, restored sacred sites, and wove together the cultural tapestry of two great civilizations. He was a king with a sword in one hand and a scholar's wisdom in the other, a ruler whose vision honored the past while shaping the future. Today, his name still resonates across ancient inscriptions in Sudan and Egypt, a reminder that true leadership is measured not just in victories, but in the preservation of identity, culture, and dignity. Tahara was a warrior, a statesman, and a guardian of a civilization's soul. Number 2. Queen Nzinga of Nongo and Matamba. In the dense forest and rolling plains of what is now Angola, a queen arose whose cunning and courage would confound one of Europe's most ruthless empires. Queen Nzinga of Nongo and Matamba. Portugal arrived with guns, slavery, and the cold ambition of conquest, believing African kingdoms could be bent to their will. But Nzinga would not kneel. When they demanded tribute, she famously placed a servant beneath her as a chair, a quiet act of defiance that echoed louder than any battle cry. She mastered patience and strategy. Outwardly, she converted to Christianity, a move to delay the storm of war. Behind closed doors, she trained armies, sharpened spears, and honed tactics that would make her enemies tremble. When Portugal struck, she struck back harder. Aligning with Dutch forces and employing guerrilla tactics that twisted the European armies' expectations, she fortified borders and leveraged the terrain like an extension of her will. For 40 years, Nzinga resisted invasion, striking decisively, slipping away when cornered, and outwitting her foes at every turn. No queen in African history matched her consistency, her strategic brilliance, or her uncanny ability to force European powers to rethink their assumptions. And when she passed, it was not on a battlefield, but in her bed, peaceful, a rare and extraordinary victory in a world where most warriors fall to foreign swords. Queen Nzinga proved that cunning, resilience, and vision could triumph where might alone could not. Number 1. Shaka Zulu of the Zulu Kingdom. In the rolling hills and open plains of southern Africa, a boy born into exile would rise to become a force that reshaped an entire continent. Shaka Zulu, the warrior who became a revolution. From the shadows of hardship, Shaka built more than an army, he forged a legend. He transformed warfare itself, introducing the short-stabbing spear for close combat, mastering the deadly art of hand-to-hand fighting, and imposing grueling forced marches that turned men into unstoppable warriors. His signature bullhorn formation struck fear into enemies, enveloping them with precision and calculated brutality. Shaka did not merely win battles, he changed the rules of war. Through relentless strategy and unmatched discipline, he united over 100 fragmented tribes under the Zulu banner, creating a nation from scattered fragments. Each victory, each conquest, forged not only a kingdom but a legacy that would endure long after his fall. Even after his assassination, his innovations lived on. African nations studied and adopted his tactics, and even British officers, who came seeking conquest, could not ignore the genius of the Zulu strategies. Shaka turned warriors into legends and transformed Africa into a theater of military mastery. These were not just men and women who fought, they were architects of history, shaping it with courage, ingenuity, and unyielding will. Shaka Zulu and the warriors of Africa didn't just make history, they reshaped it, leaving a legacy that continues to inspire the world. If you've learned something new today, hit that like button, subscribe for more untold African stories, and check the description below for links to books and documentaries that bring these legends to life.